I spent my whole life taking the bait. Any awkward comment, any strange look, and there I was, explaining myself, defending myself, running around trying to clear things up. I thought that was the attitude of someone who's confident. Not at all. It was pure insecurity. The turning point didn't come from reading self-help books, but from embarrassing myself in a meeting. A colleague questioned my competence in front of everyone. That subtle little attack, the old me would have jumped down his throat with excuses and data. But luckily, or by shock, I froze. I didn't say a word. The silence weighed heavily. The guy started stuttering, repeating arguments, saying things no one asked to try to fill the void. In seconds, the tables turned. No one looked at me judgingly. They looked at him stumbling over himself. That's when I understood. Whoever reacts gives away the gold. If there are people who constantly test or provoke you, it's because they're waiting for you to explode. Your reaction is their fuel. Take that away, and the dynamic collapses. I started testing this on purpose. Someone would let slip a sarcastic joke. I'd look and not respond. They tried to drag me into a fight. I stayed quiet. The result is bizarre. People get nervous. They talk faster, invent things you didn't say. Silence becomes a mirror where they see their own insecurity. The human brain hates a vacuum. When you don't react, the person goes into overdrive. Did I go too far? Is he ignoring me? Did he figure out my game? Most can't handle the uncertainty and end up giving in. I've seen friends stop making lame jokes and relatives avoid controversial topics without me having to raise my voice. It's not about winning the argument. It's about refusing to enter the ring. They poke, provoke, and wait. When nothing comes back, they panic. The other day, a guy sent me 3 messages in a row just because I ignored a subtle dig from him. By the third, he was already apologizing for something I didn't even accuse him of. That's when it clicked. These drama-obsessed people need a stage. They crave your reaction. And when you give nothing, the silence is torture, because it forces the person to be alone with their bad intentions. If the person spoke in good faith, the silence doesn't bother them. If it was malicious, they go into a tailspin. I'm not talking about being cold or playing games. I'm talking about not being a puppet. Notice the most confident people you know. They don't yell. They don't justify themselves every 5 minutes or rush to be understood. They observe. They take their time. Silence becomes a sieve. The annoying person leaves. The disrespectful person loses their appeal. Only those who are worthwhile remain. Once you understand this, you can't unsee it. You start to notice when someone is trying to control you through exhaustion, or when disrespect comes disguised as "it's just a joke." Silence cuts this off at the root. It's not a scene from a movie. It's dry, it's surgical, and it works. It's not about becoming mute. It's so that when you open your mouth, your words carry weight. People start to measure what they say around you, not because you demanded it, but because your silence taught them the limit. The irony is this: the less you react, the more control you have, without having to ask for it. Do you know that feeling of always being on the defensive, constantly explaining who you are or why you did something? I lived in that constant tension, always ready to justify myself. But it clicked when I realized I wasn't making conscious decisions. I was just reacting. It was automatic. Someone would change their tone of voice, make a face, and I'd jump. I was a hostage to other people's moods. It was silence that broke that cycle. There was one day that was the acid test. Someone came to provoke me, blatantly. You know that venomous comment, tailor-made to get you riled up and then call you crazy. I saw the blow coming from miles away, and I did nothing. I didn't smile. I didn't argue. I didn't explain myself. I just looked at the person and let the silence weigh on me. And it did. Their confidence shattered instantly. They started to stutter, backtrack, utter that classic, "That's not exactly what I meant." I didn't need to set any traps. She hanged herself with her own rope. That's when I understood the stark truth. When someone desperately tries to make you react, it's because that person needs control. Silence takes that control away from them. I used to think power meant having the perfect answer on the tip of your tongue. Not at all. True power is choosing not to play the game. Over time, silence became a sieve. Those who truly respect you are fine with it, but those who only want to drain your energy, they hate it. They push the limits, test your boundaries, become aggressive because the old buttons stopped working. But there's a catch. You can't fake it. If you stay quiet just as a strategy or to manipulate, people can smell it from a mile away. Silence only works when it comes from a place of, I am at peace and I owe you nothing. Today, I'm harder to read, not because I'm hiding my game, but because I stopped announcing my every move. What's left is peace. Not that Zen-like, monk-like peace, but the tranquility of someone who doesn't lose sleep trying to be understood by those who don't want to listen. Silence taught me something brutal. Those who matter don't need explanations, and those who don't matter, well, they would never understand anyway. Now I speak when necessary. And the funny thing is, the less I speak, the more people seem to listen. I used to bleed energy. Someone would say something stupid, and I'd jump right in to correct them. I felt like I had to defend my ground every single time. It was exhausting. Then I just stopped. Not because I was trying to be deep or mysterious. I was just tired of the noise. And when I stopped feeding that noise, something weird happened. The drama didn't disappear, but it looked different. Like watching a thunderstorm from inside a soundproof room. You see the rain, you see the wind, but you aren't getting wet. Here is the thing about silence. It really freaks people out. We live in a world where everyone is screaming to be noticed. When you don't join in, you become a mirror. And people hate looking in the mirror. I remember this guy at a dinner, loud, interrupting everyone, clearly trying to be the alpha in the room. The old me would have fought for airtime. The new me, I just leaned back and stared at his forehead. He kept talking. He couldn't stand the dead air. He filled it with nervous jokes, then contradictions. By the end, he was basically listing his insecurities for everyone to see. I didn't have to say a word. He beat himself. That's when it clicked. Most people aren't listening to you. They're just waiting for their turn to talk. When you don't play that game, they short-circuit. You don't need to be a Stoic philosopher to get this. It's just basic economics. Why spend expensive energy on cheap problems? Now I'm picky. I don't give away my reaction for free. And the funny thing is, because I speak less, people actually listen when I finally do. It's not about controlling them. It's about them not controlling you. They come looking for a fight, or validation, or attention, and they leave empty-handed. That is real power, not dominance. Just peace. Do you know that exhausting feeling of having to explain yourself all the time? Of feeling like, if you don't respond right away, the world will end. Well, I stopped, and something happened that nobody tells you. Silence cleanses your life. Those people who used to drain your energy, they disappeared. No drama, no goodbyes. They just left because they ran out of fuel. I wasn't putting on the show they wanted anymore. No more long texts justifying my actions. No more apologizing for existing. At first, paranoia hit. Have I turned to ice? But then it dawned on me. I wasn't pushing anyone away. I just stopped chasing. It's very different. Those who stayed, stayed for real. You know that pleasant silence, where nobody needs to force a conversation to fill the void. That's what's left. Those who need noise all the time don't want connection. They want an audience. And there's more. When I stopped justifying myself, respect increased. It sounds crazy, but when you don't seek approval, manipulation loses its power. The other person throws out the bait, and you don't bite. You see the person trying to get under your skin, and you realize instantly, this isn't about me. It's about their lack of control. Silence breaks the legs of those who want to control you. They come wanting a reaction, and they find a wall. They come wanting a fight, and they run into their own reflection in the mirror. You don't need to win the argument. You just need not to get into it. The moment you understand that you don't owe your emotions to anyone, the game changes. You know that almost physical urge to explain yourself when someone misunderstands everything. I used to live with that stuck in my throat. I thought having control meant forcibly holding my tongue, swallowing the insult and not exploding. But that's not control, it's torture. After I stopped reacting, it clicked. Real control isn't about forcing yourself to hold back. It's simply about not getting caught in other people's turbulent waters. I was terrified of being misunderstood. If someone thought something bad about me, I'd rush to correct them. Deep down, it was insecurity. Fear of being judged, diminished. Silence starved that fear into oblivion. When you stop fueling the argument, you realize that not everything needs a response. Some people shout to feel real. Some people provoke because their silence is unbearable. And when you don't return the favor, they panic. I realized this quickly. People stopped attacking me directly and started with those indirect jabs, little jokes to test the waters. They wanted confirmation that they could still get to me. I didn't give them that satisfaction. It's funny to see the person's face when they realize they've lost emotional access to you. First comes the confusion, then the shock of reality. It's a clean cut, no drama, no long farewell text. Many people think silence burns bridges. It doesn't. It only shows which bridges were already rotten, and you insisted on crossing them. The truth is simple. Not everyone deserves access to your mind. Silence becomes a filter. Those who were only there for the chaos will leave, stomping their feet. Those who stay are worth it. My intuition became sharp. Without the outside noise, I stopped doubting myself. It's not charisma, it's consistency. I stopped negotiating with chaos, because reacting is just that, a negotiation. When you react, you're validating the other person's madness, pulling out a chair for them to sit in your life. Silence is locking the door, not out of arrogance, but because you're tired of cleaning up the mess others bring. Let the weight fall on whoever created the problem. You're no one's shield. Stay out of it. Let them talk to themselves. That's how you regain the power they thought they had over you. Do you know that exhausting feeling of having to respond to everything, of always having to have the last word, or defend yourself? There came a point when I got tired of it. It wasn't a pretty decision. I just stopped. I realized that living by reacting is amateurish. Most people live like that, on autopilot. The phone beeps, the mood changes, someone gives a dirty look, the day is over, everyone's negotiating their own peace with the outside world. When I stopped playing that game, my perspective changed. From afar, all that noise and shouting doesn't seem like strength. It seems like desperation. That's when I stopped getting irritated with difficult people. I understood that nobody was attacking me. They were drowning in their own mess. And I learned the hardest lesson. You can't save someone struggling in the water. Without sinking too, the secret is to stay on the edge. Many people call that coldness. I call it not being a fool. Praise doesn't pay the bills. Criticism doesn't kill. Everything passes by. Nothing sticks. The funny thing is, people can smell it. When they see they can't get you anymore, they stop. Drama needs an audience. If you neither applaud nor boo, the show is over. What's left is respect or distance. Both work for me. In the end, silence isn't about hiding. It's about becoming unreachable by what's worthless. You no longer need to protect your peace. It protects you on its own. Do you know that exhaustion of having to explain who you are all the time? Of feeling like you need to defend every step you take? There came a point when I got tired. I stopped thinking about silence and it became, I don't know, gravity. It was just there. I stopped taking the bait. You know when someone cracks a joke just to annoy you, or makes that passive-aggressive comment disguised as concern. In the past, I would have jumped down their throat, or spent hours justifying myself. Now, nothing. I didn't refuse the invitation to fight, I just didn't show up. And the strangest thing happened. People got awkward. When you don't fill the air with excuses or quick reactions, the other side panics. They start listening to their own voice and realize the nonsense they're talking. They slow down, not because they're afraid of me, but because silence is a mirror. Nobody likes to see themselves talking to themselves. I used to leak energy everywhere, getting angry, sad, anxious. Now that energy stays with me. It's like closing the tabs on the mental browser that were crashing my system. Decisions became ridiculously simple. Does this give me a headache? Yes. Then I'm out. No long goodbye texts, no resentment. Just clarity. That's real freedom. Not the kind from margarine commercials, but the freedom of not having your buttons pushed by just anyone. You see someone explaining themselves too fast, stuttering, trying to convince the world, and you realize you've been there. I stopped trying to change others. If a person wants to live in chaos, that's their problem. Silence is no longer my shield. It's just where I live now. Do you know what actually drains your battery? It's not the work, it's the constant reacting. I used to walk into a room and immediately scan for approval, checking faces, reading the vibe, trying to fit in. It was exhausting. So I just stopped. I quit the mental arguments in the shower. I quit trying to manage everyone else's emotions. And that's when it hits me. We aren't tired because life is tough. We're tired because we treat everything like an emergency. We're always playing defense, answering every expectation like it's a summons. Once I shut up and stepped back, I got that energy back. Now my rule is simple. If something feels like a fire drill, I let it burn. If I have to explain myself 3 times, I stop talking. If it ruins my peace, it doesn't get my time. I used to be exhausted all the time, not from work, but from acting. I was obsessed with defining myself. I only knew who I was based on what I fought against, what annoyed me, or who I disagreed with. My whole personality was just a series of knee-jerk reactions. Then I just stopped. It felt weirdly light, like dropping a heavy backpack I didn't know I was wearing. When you stop trying to prove you're right, or smart, or successful, you realize something harsh. Most of us aren't tired because life is hard. We're tired because maintaining an image is a full-time job. We defend opinions we don't even care about just to have a stance. When I got quiet, I didn't lose my values. I just stopped feeling the need to wave them around like a flag. I didn't have to tell people who I was anymore. I just lived it. At first, your ego hates this. It panics. It wants to clap back at the rude comment or correct the wrong assumption. It craves that friction, but if you starve it, the noise settles. Suddenly, decisions became obvious. I stopped looking sideways at what everyone else was doing. Their wins didn't make me feel small. Their bad moods didn't ruin my day. The biggest shift, though, was social. Silence acts like a filter. When you stop feeding the drama, the people who need chaos to survive just leave. They get bored. You don't have to cut them off. They cut themselves off. What's left is a clean slate. Now, reacting feels like wearing shoes on the wrong feet. Unnatural. I don't force myself to be silent. I just don't see the point in making noise anymore. You know that itch to check your phone when you have 5 seconds of downtime. That low-level panic that you're wasting time if you aren't doing something productive. Well, that feeling finally broke. I stopped looking at the clock as a currency I had to spend. I just sat there. No phone, no mental commentary narrating my life, no twitchy urge to get up and fix a snack. And honestly, it wasn't about discipline or some complex mental strategy. It felt more like the dust settling in an empty room. Thoughts still showed up, obviously, but they didn't hijack me anymore. I treated them like traffic outside the window. I saw the cars, but I didn't try to jump in the driver's seat. I just watched them go. That's when I found the gap. There's this split second before you react to something, before you get angry or defensive or anxious. Most of us skip right over it because it feels uncomfortable. But that empty space, that's where the actual control is. It's not magic, by the way. People love to make this sound spiritual, but it's really just biology. It's your nervous system finally realizing there's no tiger in the room. When you stop reacting to everything, like it's an emergency, your body actually exhales. And when that urgency dies, you get scary sharp. You hear what people aren't saying. You trust your gut because it's not being drowned out by your own noise. I realized that 90% of my stress wasn't coming from my problems. It was coming from me fighting my problems. Once I stopped fighting, the stress had nothing to latch onto. I didn't have to practice this anymore. It just became how I operate